Well, 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 we can only come to you with the good news, folks. It's not a Red Bull on pole. Glory and praise be to us
Oh,
all.
thank you.
We don't have anything against Red Bull, but for the sake of competition, I think it's only a good thing that we can talk
For
about
the
something a
sake of
little bit different.
variety.
For the sake of variety. Hi guys, I'm Dre Harrison. Welcome back to the WTF1 Wrap powered by MoneyGram. And with me on this edition, we have F1 LukeSam, TikTok star, and tremendous
Thanks.
mustache, if I do say so myself, sir.
Wow, thank you.
Tell the good audience a little bit about yourself first and foremost, because some people, let's be honest, I'm a bit of an old man. I'm not the biggest TikToker in the world, so let the good people out there know what you do out there, brother.
Well, yeah, I'm F1 Luke Sam. Nice to meet you guys. My main platform is on TikTok at the moment. Just under 100,000 followers. That's literally all there is to me. Very, very simple guy.
I love that you gave it such a thorough description. It's like, yeah, F1 guy does TikTok, brilliant.
Yeah, loves making videos. That's me. That's me. Very chill. Love to chat about this stuff. So I'm actually very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So can't wait to get into it. I mean, we are talking to you after, like, normally when we do a teammate battle edition of the show, it's normally after practice 2 is finished. But as you know, this is a sprint weekend, and we've actually changed the format for a sprint weekend. We had a sudden vote over the last 1 month of what I call F1 spring break. So now we have qualifying, which determines the grid for Sunday today. The sprint is now a standalone day. We will have the sprint shootout tomorrow morning, which is going to be an even shorter version of the current qualifying format. It's going to be 12, 10, and 8 minutes long. And then our sprint race, like we've had for the last couple of years now, that'll be at, I think it's 2 p.m. local, 2 p.m. UK time. So, yeah, we've changed the format around a little bit. I mean, Luke, you've been following along for a while. They've changed the format around. I mean, what did you make? We're seeing it a little bit in progress now. Obviously, it's hard to get a full read on it because obviously we got to do the sprint qualifying session tomorrow morning as well. But what have you made of the changes so far? What was your gut feeling going in? Because I know it's been very split on opinions so far.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, we won't really know until obviously the weekend's played out and we can kind of reflect on it. But I had two gut feelings. My first one was, what is going on? What do they think is never going to work? And it wasn't until I sat down, I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? I think this is really exciting. And I think even from the first day alone, it's shaping up to be a very exciting weekend.
Well, I think the results have certainly helped on that regard. I mean, yeah, I mean, Red Bull's qualifying advantage has been well documented so far this season, but no, Charles Leclerc is on pole this time around, and for the sake of competition, given how Red Bull has pretty much ran the field over for the season so far, we got to be a little bit more excited, right, Luke?
Yes. It's good to see a different color up there that isn't blue.
Blue, purple. I mean, we have argued about this many times before. Blurple, whatever you want to call it. We're just glad we're just glad we've got a red car at the front for a change.
Yes.
So I mean, it is also kind of interesting though, and I am a little bit worried about this to an extent as well because. Is Ferrari's yardstick Charles Leclerc carrying him, or is it Carlos Sainz who was like the better part of 9/10 of a second behind?
Where is the Ferrari at? Where does it sit? Does it sit halfway? How do you measure it?
It's such a huge disparity that it's actually kind of hard to tell. Where Ferrari actually is in terms of race trim. I mean, especially given we only had about 45 minutes of practice going into this weekend as well, because we had FP. I mean, we would normally have 3 of them. We have 2 during a sprint weekend. Now we're down to 1. So Stefano's clearly getting his wish. He wants less practice, and he's getting that. And it's the first 15 minutes of that practice session was just pure unbridled chaos. We had Pierre Gasly catching fire. We had Kevin Magnussen's creative parking. Yuki Tsunoda put it in the wall. It was mayhem.
Anyone would think it's their first time racing.
Well, to be fair, it kind of was. I love that it's like multiple drivers were the ones that were saying, "Oh, we don't need as much practice time. It's fine. You know, we don't need practice at all. You know, give it to the Formula 2 guys. They actually need it." And then what happens? We get wreckages and wall taps and all knows what else.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I liked it. I liked that there was less practice. We went into qualifying. They've got less data on everything, and I mean, we saw it made for a long wait in between runs, especially for Q1. How long was Q1? Like half an hour, 35 minutes?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It's Baku's marshals. Every time we have a wreck in Baku, the red flag is going to be guaranteed for at least 10 minutes because those marshals, and God bless them, we love marshals because we need them to race, but the Baku's ones, shall we say, take their time.
They do.
They make sure that everything is working properly before we get going again. They take extra special care. I'm going to spin this into a positive, or at least try to. But on our teammate battles edition of the WTF1 round, we would normally go up and down the grid, thinking who's going to qualify on top. And you know, try to break some predictions as to how things have gone. But this is different because we already know what the grid looks like now because of the sprint qualifying and the sprint change in the rules of the format. So we actually know what the grid looks like. So what we're going to do, we're going to twist it a little bit, and instead we're going to predict who wins the sprint and who comes up through in the Grand Prix in general between all the teams. As you can see on our screen, we hit the randomizer and Alpine came out first. And
Alpine.
I mean, we talked a bit about practice, Luke, and the fact that, you know, Gasly's car literally had a huge fire. I think it was the hydraulics failed, they leaked fluid, and as Ted Kravitz quite delicately teased, hydraulic fluid catches fire. And
yeah,
it looked like a new pope had been christened in Baku, with how much smoke was coming out of the air hole in that Alpine. They had to scramble to fix the power unit and gearbox in time for qualifying. They did, only for Gasly. So pretty enough for them, only for Gasly to put it in the wall like 10 minutes later.
Yep, and Gasly said, "Do it again."
That was practice. Here's the real thing. So yeah, I mean, not exactly what you call ideal for Alpine in the end. Gasly will be starting 19th, Esteban Ocon 12th on very little practice time. So you know, that was not ideal. But do you think that Ocon will carry through that advantage with the seven extra grid places, Luke?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm a big Gasly guy. I'm ever since, you know, them two were partnered up against each other, not just at Alpine, but you know, the cross team rivalries where they were always matched. You know, the two Frenchmen. Always been about a Gasly guy. But no, I think the 7 places is definitely going to help Ocon. I mean, it would help anyone, right?
You'd think. I mean, I think they've been fairly evenly matched as teammates so far. I think Ocon's been a little bit better overall, but I also think that Gasly was running P5 for most of Australia and until that final restart, which probably should have had him banned from this round in the first place. And you know, I'm starting to think that maybe that was the better option.
Yeah, it would have saved Alpine a lot of money.
Yeah, just run Jack Doohan instead. It's fine. Tell guys to take the weekend off. I'm with you on that one. I probably would take Ocon in this scenario, barring some major shenanigans. It's a shame because it's the second time Gasly's made a complete Horlicks of qualifying so far this season already. And that's not ideal. Ocon now 3-1 up in that head-to-head matchup between the pair of them in qualifying so far. So I'm with you on that. I'm going to say Esteban Ocon on this one. Another team not having a particularly good time at the moment, Alfa Romeo. And, Joe, a little bit unlucky, just got knocked out in Q1 in the end. He's in 16th, Valtteri Bottas in 14th. Nothing particularly to write home about, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this matchup at the moment, Luke, because we've had a lot of guests talk about it. These two seem to be very evenly matched.
They are, and would you say that's not kind of concerning that they are evenly matched? Comparing Bottas, an ex-Mercedes driver, race winner, pole sitter, to Zhou. I'm not saying that's bad for Zhou. I'm saying that Bottas as a leader and as the first driver, I think should be outperforming Zhou.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a valid point. You brought in Valtteri as a big coup and as someone to probably steer the development of your team as an experienced veteran.
Heavily, yeah.
You know, race winning experience. You know, and first year, absolutely, he was doing that. Second year so far, Zhou's been, I think, a lot closer to Valtteri, which partly is a good thing because you want two drivers competing at a high level. You want them to be close, ideally. So, you know, that's not all bad per se, but at the same time, I think, you know, it might not be a good impression for Valtteri, who, let's be honest, a lot of fans have been not exactly high on Valtteri after the back of his Mercedes run, and
No.
and if he starts slipping results-wise here as well, people are probably going to start beating down the door saying, hey, where's Theo Pourchaire at?
Yeah.
That's what I fear might happen. I'm not sure how much of this is Zhou being better than last year and how much of this is Valtteri being better.
Absolutely. It might be a credit to Zhou. We might be bringing Bottas down when we really should be bringing Zhou up. I guess we just don't know.
Yeah, so we don't know on that one. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Bottas had the slight edge on this one. Are you going to go Valtteri on this one for Saturday and Sunday instead of Zhou? What do you think?
I am going Valtteri, and it's only because he definitely needs to bounce back from the last race in Australia. That was horrific to watch.
I agree. That was not a good day in Australia at all. I actually think Valtteri will bounce back. I think there's been I don't think like it's been catastrophic for Bottas over the course of this matchup, but I think there is a little bit of cause for concern. Also, fun fact, out of all the qualifying head-to-heads, this is the only 2-2 matchup in the field, believe it or not. They're the only ones where both of them have had equal results in qualifying, 2 each after the 4 rounds of quadding we've had so far. Everybody else is either 3-1 one way or 4-0 the other way. So, yeah, there's a bit of a fun fact there for you. But
it's a good one.
Yeah. I take notes. I take notes. I came prepared for this one. I'm on it. I do try my best. Yeah, Hamza, you have missed qualifying, I'm afraid, big man, in the chat there. Yeah, Charles Leclerc on pole. I'm as shocked as you are. Next up on the list, we've got McLaren, and you know what? They were teasing. They were teasing this round. You know, so this was going to be the big upgrade round for McLaren. They were saying, oh, you know, Baku will release a new spec of our car. Things will get better. And to be fair, not bad on this one. Lando Norris 7th, Oscar Piastri 10th. Both McLarens making Q3. I mean, I've got to ask, you being obviously Australian, what's the talk been back home for Oscar Piastri? Because I think you've got a lot to be excited about, personally.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this young man. However, if I'm honest, at the Australian Grand Prix, there was very little talk about him. Maybe it's that other people have had different experiences, but me, I heard, I'm not going to say little about this guy, but I heard obviously more about Ricciardo and more about Bottas as our little adopted Australian. So the hype in my eyes is big, but from what I've heard, honestly, I couldn't gauge the hype at all that weekend.
Interesting. I know we had Josh on, and I know there was a fair amount of talk about that in a positive light as well. So people were clearly, I saw a lot of Piastri merch. I saw a lot of Piastri giant heads in the crowd. So I think there's clearly some positive buzz for Oscar. And look,
absolutely, yeah.
I don't think anyone's expected him to walk in and beat Lando, because anyone who knows Lando at McLaren knows he's a quality driver and very, very good. And I think this might be another weekend where that plays out. I think, Luke. I'm going to go Norris on this one. Do you think Norris is going to continue? Yep.
If you give Norris a half decent car, he's going to put it somewhere it doesn't belong. He was sitting in like P4 for majority of that, like some of those qualifying sessions. I did not think we'd see a McLaren there.
I didn't think we'd see one in there either, but yeah, they both got in. So, you know what? Maybe this is a positive sign for McLaren. You know, maybe Australia... I mean, Australia felt a little bit flukish when they got 12 points out of that weekend, given how bad their early form looked. But maybe with these Baku upgrades, maybe they found something to get them back to roughly where they were before. I mean, it's not a huge revelation for me.
Yeah.
That
I mean, Lando did say that the upgrades coming were what they should have started the season with, right?
right.
But looking at them, a lot of them are like circuit specific. I think they bought 6 upgrades and 5 of them are circuit specific. So it's going to be what I think is it's going to be good for McLaren this weekend. They should have a good weekend. They've still got one more qualifying, a sprint and a race to go through. But realistically, they should have a decent weekend. But then when you move it over to Miami, are they going to be able to bring those upgrades with them and see the same sort of results in Miami?
That's going to be a good question. Not sure on that one because Miami's a very different type of circuit. You know, much less of a power track, a lot more technical. That's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, Baku is not like most rounds for many, many reasons. So again, as you say, it might be a bit of an outlier. So again, could easily go either way on that one. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it will be Norris 3-1 up in that qualifying matchup now against Piastri after Baku's qualifying today.
Yeah.
I know Peter Carroll saying Logan Sargent is stuck at P16 still, and yeah, we're going to talk about that right now because next up is Williams. See how
talk about circuit specific.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I
good segue.
I put a tweet out there during the session where I said, death, taxes, and Williams punching above their weight on tracks that have a large amount of straights in them because they're so slippery in the air. It's a very common Williams trait throughout the years, and this was no exception. Albon 13th, Sargent 15th on this one. I actually thought that they had potential to get into Q3 here. I thought they looked really quick, and
I was surprised that they didn't, if I'm honest.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was, I thought they had a bit more in them. I know Albon complained on the radio that they reckon Carlos Sainz might have blocked him and held them up a little bit after he had to reverse back onto the track because he went a bit wide during one of the escape roads. But I think this could be a team that could surprise and get a few points. Maybe Grand Prix itself, because obviously sprint is only top 8, so that's going to be quite hard
top 8,
to get.
Yeah, that is a very big ask.
Yeah, but maybe 10th if shenanigans happen, which in Baku is very likely. I mean, I'd like to also know, what have you made of Sargent so far as a rookie?
Sargent, I actually tipped him to be the best performing rookie this year. I think he's very exciting. That was with De Vries in the question. It kind of went actually, as an Aussie, I put Oscar last.
Did you really? Despite him being in a McLaren?
Yes. I thought, I don't know. I like Sargent, even though he was butting heads with Doohan last year in F2. I think he's got great potential, especially American driver. I rate him. In short form, I rate him.
Okie dokie. I believe it's 4-0 Albon so far in qualifying. This one was a bit more. There's a half a second between them in terms of their fastest laps. I'm going to assume we're going to go Albon here to continue his run of form over Logan. Yeah, I think if Logan can just stay close, that's more than enough at the moment. I mean, half a second's a bit more of a gap. I hope Logan can do a little bit to reel him in, but not exactly ideal. Next up on the list is our friends at Haas, and oh dear, not the best qualified session. We had Gunther Steiner actually on Sky Sports coverage, mic'd up for this one, and he played it down pretty well. I think he was very mature about the whole situation because it wasn't great.
He has had a lot of practice. He's gotten quite good at it.
I guess you could say, yeah. I mean, it wasn't an ideal day of running for Haas. Magnussen had car problems all the way through practice, and then in qualifying as well, they had to park his car early. Didn't want to gamble on any of the mechanical components, which is not ideal at all.
So he was quite frustrated about that as well.
Yeah, he was, understandably so. He was 18th. Bit of a surprise, given how strong Hülkenberg has qualified this year as well, that he was down in 17th and eliminated in Q1. I was very fortunate to sit down and chat with Gunther, promoting his new book, Surviving to Drive. He's a lovely bloke. But, do check out the social clips for that on our Instagram and all over our platforms if you want to get some more insight into that. But he was very high on Hulkenberg so far this season. But I did get a question asking him about fears that the car might be a bit draggy in Baku, and it looks like that's actually held up.
Yes.
For Hulkenberg, who's been one of the better qualifiers in the field, Luke, to be down in 17th. Not ideal.
Yeah, he's been batting above his average this year. That's for sure. It was definitely a shock to see him in P17.
Yeah, not ideal at all. But we've got to make a prediction. It's our MoneyGram teammate battle question. Who ends up on top? I mean, to be fair, it's a pretty blank canvas here between Magnussen and Hulkenberg, but they're both right next to each other on row number 9. So this could easily go either way in race trim. I mean, what do you reckon on this one,
It
Luke?
could. I'll let you pick first so I can pick the opposite. Just to spice it up.
A tactical call. I'm going to say Magnussen.
All right, I'll take Nico. I'll have you up on that one.
Take Nico. I think part of that will be if the car is damaged, they might take a pit lane start, and that might actually help in terms of setup, because then they can break Parc Ferme. So I would actually, given they're going to be near the back anyway, I think there's a good chance they'll fix Magnussen's car, tweak the setup a little bit, take the pit lane start, and then maybe he'll have a stronger race car. That's my logic. I'm going to go with that. So we'll see how that goes out. I'm going to go for Magnussen over Hulkenberg on this one. So we'll see how that plays out. Next up, Mercedes. And wow, this was an intense fight.
It was.
So we had some practice fears over the brakes. They got those resolved. There were some concerns about the pace in general of Mercedes, and I guess that was kind of confirmed a little bit with George Russell getting knocked out in Q2. First time this season that's happened. Hamilton knocks him out by 4 thousandths of a second, Luke. And, what a matchup that was.
Yeah, that's Hamilton's first win over Russell in qualifying, right? This season?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the first time all year that Hamilton's out-qualified Russell, yeah.
Yeah, it's good for Hamilton fans, but I don't know. It wasn't very convincing. I'll say that.
Well, at least Hamilton's come through in Q3 because I don't know what magically worked for him in
Q3, right?
In Q3 because he found half a second.
A different car.
Yeah. He found half a second.
And he had a tow during Q2 as well.
So I don't know what changed. Maybe party modes very sneakily made a comeback, but it put Hamilton up into P5. So big disparity between him and Russell on the grid. So are we going to take Hamilton on this one? Given the grid position differences, I mean, we're talking 6 here.
Yeah, 6. See, Russell's still really good at fighting through the field.
I agree. He's a pretty aggressive driver when he wants to be.
He is. So I don't know. I'm one of the biggest Hamilton guys out. But to me, this is still kind of up in the air. But I will take Lewis.
I'm going to agree on this one. I'm taking Lewis. I think they're very evenly matched. So I think if you're giving Hamilton 3 extra rows to play with, it's hard not to pick him on this occasion.
Yeah.
I'd have loved to have seen them roughly on the same 3rd row and then making a prediction, because that could have easily gone either way. But given how closely matched they are so far since they've been teammates, I think you got to go Hamilton given the grid position difference there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, we got AlphaTauri, and oh dear, talk about a tale of two different. Talk about a tale of 2 qualifying sessions. Oh boy, I had concerns about Yuki because he did bid it in practice, brought out a red flag, but then it was so nice. Nick Freeze decided to do it twice and did it in Q1.
Oh, Nick.
He'll be starting at the back of the grid. But Yuki Tsunoda in qualifying, what a job that was. P8. The first time Yuki's made Q3 all season. Wow.
It's come when they need it. Definitely.
I mean, this is a team that's only got the 1 point. They've struggled. Yuki has had to fight and scratch for every grid spot he's been able to get so far this season, and this was no exception.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know about you, Luke, but I think Yuki's been incredibly impressive so far.
Yuki's
this
been
season.
phenomenal. He definitely deserves to be, up there with the big boys. How many races was it? 3? He got P11. 3 races in a row.
2, yeah.
Two.
First 2, P11. Then he scraped into 10th in Australia to get the team's first point of the year. So,
So he deserves it.
No one on the grid deserved the point more than Yuki in Australia. Let me tell you.
No, absolutely not.
So
let's talk about De Vries for a hot second.
Sure.
I don't know about this guy. I have to throw some concerns out there. The thing is, he's very hot and cold. He actually reminds me of Yuki in his debut year. He's I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna boss FP1, and then comes to quality and he bends it into a wall.
It's a weird one. I've asked a lot of people about this as well, because Nick De Vries seems to be very polarizing amongst fans, because obviously he's not your typical rookie. He did come up through the juniors, but then was overlooked when he won the F2 title in 2020. And he had to go to Formula E. He won the Formula E World Championship over there, but again, that season, if anybody watches Formula E will know that season was carnage due to the qualifying rules and the way the grids were formed. It was a little bit of a mess, because last year they changed the format around, and then his teammate was Stoffel Van Dorn, a name that a lot of you guys watching will recognize from his McLaren days, and Stoffel smoked him last year before getting this F1 seat. So I think it's fair to say that Nick has probably come in under a lot of pressure to immediately hit the ground running, given his extra experience, given that he's beaten many a quality driver in World Championship Series, and it's just not working. And that is, he's 4-0 down in qualifying to Tsunoda now, and now he's wrecked a car on top of it. And now there's even more drama, because Franz Tost is stepping down at the end of the season as well. So they're bringing in Miki's the Ferrari sporting director to come in next year. So there's a lot of turbulence, shall we say, at AlphaTauri.
Yeah.
They need something solid to hang off of, and Nick's not giving them that. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. On the other hand, it is very good to see Tsunoda show his maturity a little bit.
100%.
Because we know he has been in F1, even F2, he's been known just to throw the car around, bin the car. And he's not doing that as much now. I'm not going to say he's not doing it at all, but he's not doing it as much. And De Vries has kind of been given that baton from Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, I think we can quite comfortably say Tsunoda again on this one.
Absolutely, yes.
Let's not waste
Big
any
nod.
more time on that. But yeah, probably my driver of the day, Yuki Tsunoda. That was a phenomenal job in qualifying from him.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about Ferrari. Let me just pull up my Ferrari. Yep, there we go. Yeah, here we are. Just misclicked on my Streamlabs there for a second. Had to style it out a little bit. But hey, Charles Leclerc on pole, everybody. Yay!
Charles is on pole.
There's some positivity to take out of Ferrari, because it has been rough so far. There's not been a lot of good news to take out of the prancing camp at Maranello so far this season. But they've got a pole position. They're on the board for the big stats. That was a phenomenal lap from Charles, wasn't it, Luke?
It was fantastic. I feel like now would not be a good time to remind Ferrari fans that he has 6 points. And this is definitely well overdue. But it was a really, really good lap. And it's I feel like it's just burst a bunch of energy back into the Tifosi. Kind of remind them that, like, Ferrari's got it, and when they want to have it, they can have it.
Well, he's always gone well here. This is the 3rd year in a row he's qualified on pole in Baku. He's a bit of a Baku specialist. He was leading this race last year when his power unit said Arrivederci.
Yes.
So he's always gone well here, and he seems to like it around here. He was very fast. Again, I do find it a bit confusing if you're Carlos Sainz, because Carlos was so far off the pace in qualifying. He was almost 9/10 of a second slower. So again, I don't know whether Charles Leclerc can do a job to actually give Red Bull something to think about in race trim, or whether he's just punched so far above his weight and Carlos is the better yardstick for where Ferrari are at, Luke. Do you have any ideas on that one?
I wish I did. Honestly, I wish I did. I cannot tell. What I hope doesn't happen is we get to the race and he goes, Charles goes to the main menu, puts up the difficulty, and then falls back three places. It's like he turns down the difficulty for qualifying and then boosts it again for the race.
Indeed. I mean, so yeah, 3-1 now to Charles Leclerc in qualifying. Not too surprising. I think Charles has always been an excellent qualifier, one of the very best on the grid. So I can't say I'm massively surprised at this, but a very, very solid job. Are we picking Leclerc here for Sunday as well?
Yeah, I'd be very surprised to hear anyone say they're taking Sainz, if I'm honest.
Yeah, after that performance, I think it's hard not to pick Leclerc on that one, barring shenanigans.
Yeah.
Also, got a comment in the chat from Hollis Long saying, Nick is overrated, got lucky in Italy with penalties. You might have a point on that one, Hollis. You might have a very strong point. Williams do tend to go well in Monza. They always have. Maybe that...
It's a very circuit-specific car.
Yeah, maybe that gave people the wrong idea about how good Nick may or may not be. Who knows? We'll have to get into that one as well. Aston Martin are up next. Bit of a quiet one for Aston Martin, really. I mean, I know a lot of people are very excited. I mean, the most excited we've been about Fernando Alonso in the last week has been his love life, apparently. We might be due for some bad blood if this continues. Bang!
I think so.
I'm so sorry for getting a Taylor Swift pun in during the live show. I sincerely apologise, viewers. Forgive me. Unless you're all Swifties, in which case, brilliant. I'm sure you'd love it.
Brilliant.
But it's not bad. I mean, Fernando Alonso was 6th, Lance Stroll 9th. The funny thing is if you offered them that back in February, they'd probably bite your arm off.
Yeah.
Now,
like a pack of piranhas.
Yeah, it's like now it's actually maybe slightly disappointing that they were 6th and 9th.
Yeah, and you look at Q2 where Alonso was up there splitting the Red Bulls, and then Q3 goes down to P6. I'm sure during the race he will shake it off.
Oh,
get it? No, I'm sure the race pace will be pretty good.
You had to do it, didn't you?
I had to. You did. I had to.
1-1, Luke. Yeah, I had to get it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Alonso's always been a race pace guy. He's never been the most prolific of qualifiers out there. So I don't think 6th is a dreadful place to start either. It's about par. I mean, I think Mercs might be a little bit stronger than we think they are. Ferrari, I think, has probably been the biggest surprise of the weekend, given that they've shown clearly got more pace. Certainly in Leclerc's hands. Not so sure about Carlos, but I mean, I talk about Alonso not being a prolific qualifier. He's 4-0 up on Stroll now, the way this season's gone so far. So maybe he's found some late pace in his early 40s. There's something we don't know. Maybe it's some sort of RoboCop experiment or something. But are we taking Fernando again here? Because I know I am.
Yeah, I will. I don't know. Baku, I don't say I don't know about the matchup. Absolutely, I'm taking Alonso. I'm thinking about his actual finishing place. So Azerbaijan hasn't had a double winner yet. There's been no drivers won it twice. And if that keeps going, if that's a trend, I feel like Alonso is the closest person who can win it who hasn't won it before.
We have no faith in Carlos Sainz on this live stream, clearly. If you're Spanish and you're watching in as a Ferrari fan, I sincerely apologise. You've backed the wrong man. I sincerely apologise for that.
I love Sainz. I just think he looked extremely uncomfortable today.
Yeah.
All of today.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. So yeah, I'm gonna go Alonso on this one. So yeah, maybe you can bring one home for Taylor. Who knows? She might roll up for the Miami Grand Prix if he continues to perform.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Tumblr will explode if that happens. Let me tell you. But final team on the list is Red Bull, and oh my God, they're not on pole. What's going on here? Turns out they are slightly fuming. They were only 2nd and 3rd. I mean,
only. Oh, that's going to be a hard debrief to sit through.
I know, dreadful session. I mean, there's going to be chairs thrown against the wall. I mean, I know it's Dr. Marco's birthday today. I mean, the man's at the grand old age of 80. So the fruitcake will be thrown across the room in disgust that they've only qualified second and third. So, I mean, clearly it's a disaster for them. But I don't think there's too many concerns in that camp. Is that fair to say, Luke?
No, I feel like the only concern is they are too closely matched on pace.
They are close. I mean, there was only a 10th between them in qualifying, and I think people are trying very hard to make Perez the Street King a thing, given the majority of his wins besides Bahrain a couple of years ago when his car was still pink have been all on street tracks. And given that Baku is a street track, it seems to, it's made everybody believe that Perez is now this street circuit god, and I'm not quite fully convinced on that one myself. But I mean, I think they'll be absolutely fine. They know they're a race pace car, not a qualifying car, and no one's been able to touch them over a race distance yet, or even come close. So I think second and third, I think is absolutely fine for them. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think P2 starts on the inside anyway, doesn't it? It's probably better to start.
I believe it does. Yes. So
P2 is probably the best place to start. Just grab the inside, wait a few laps, and then you're 35 seconds ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Max will just go to the 100% dial on his steering wheel, and then just go into the distance, most likely. Verstappen for you?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
We do not believe in Sergio Perez in this camp, unfortunately. Not like some people do. Not so much us. Also, I love that people in the chat have noticed I'm wearing a PSG shirt and have immediately compared me to Kylian Mbappe. I personally take that as a compliment. So thank you guys.
So you should. So you should.
I've had a lot worse comparisons over the years I've been a content creator than Kylian Mbappe. Let me tell you, I will happily take that. Just before we get out of here, we actually did, if you follow us on social media, you'll notice that we are giving away a signed copy of Gunther Steiner's new book, Surviving to Drive, signed by the man himself, courtesy of our friends at MoneyGram. And you may have noticed a certain picture of me laughing my head off during the filming of that interview with Gunther, and we asked you to have a caption competition regarding that. And the best one would get a signed copy of Surviving to Drive, and we did say we were going to announce the winner during this live stream, so I can gladly announce, and good luck to me pronouncing this username, because it's a funny one, but it's CV Baligouge. I think I nailed it. CV Baligouge, who sent in the following quote, and I must admit, it's a very clever reference to an infamous moment at this very track in Baku. Quote, I think Ericsson will read it. Very clever. We like that. Well done to CV Badigouge. We're going to send you a signed copy of Surviving to Drive by Gunther Steiner. Do check it out. It's a very good book, if I do say so myself. It's a fun one. A lot of swear words. Over 350 F-bombs. Seriously. I'm not joking. Like, you read it for yourself and you'll see exactly what I mean. But that'll do it for our teammate battle edition of the WTF1 Wrap powered by MoneyGram. We are back tomorrow after the sprint race. About half an hour after the sprint finishes. We'll obviously push it back a little bit in case there's more red flags. This is Baku. There is a very strong possibility of that. So do keep your eye on YouTube schedules. We're aiming for 3:30 UK time. Could be a little bit later, depending on stoppages. And we'll have Red Bull esports content creator Pondon with us for that one as well. So
Mr. Red Bull.
Mr. Red Bull. So, if Red Bull don't win, we could be censored to a degree. But it should be a fun watch. It should be a fun time whenever happens on that one. So do check that out when you get a chance tomorrow. But until then, I've been Dre Harrison. He's been LukeSam. LukeSam, before you go, tell the good people where they can find you.
The username just below me, that's me on everything. That's me on TikTok, Instagram, kick.com, everywhere, Twitter. That's my handle.
Yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Check F1 LukeSam out if you haven't already, especially if you're on TikTok. That's his bread and butter. But he's on all the social medias. Go find him. He's done a brilliant job. Give him a WTF1 bump from us. But until then, I've been Dre Harrison. He's been F1 LukeSam. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. See ya.
Laters.